I want to tell you about something that's happening inside your body right now, quietly, without any pain or warning, whether you can feel it or not. And I want to tell you about it because it's the kind of thing that, if you understand it early enough, you can actually do something about. And if you don't, it slowly takes away the one thing almost nobody wants to lose: your independence. The ability to get up out of your own chair without using your arms. The ability to climb your own stairs without stopping. The ability to carry your own groceries. To get up off the floor if you've bent down to pick something up. To step off a curb without that little flash of fear. This is about your muscles, and specifically, it's about how fast they're disappearing after 60, and why almost nobody explains to you what's really going on or what actually works to stop it. There's a name for this. It's called sarcopenia. And I'll be honest, it's not a word most people have ever heard, which I find almost unbelievable given how universal it is. Sarcopenia is the gradual loss of muscle mass, muscle strength, and physical function that comes with age. Every single one of us is losing muscle as we get older. That's not a scare tactic, it's just biology. But here's what I need you to understand, because this is the part that changes everything. The speed of that loss is not fixed. It's not the same for everyone. And it is dramatically affected by what you do, or don't do, in the years after 50 and 60. Two people the same age can be on completely different paths. One is getting frailer by the season, the other is steady and strong. And the difference between them usually comes down to a handful of choices that nobody ever spelled out clearly. Let me give you a sense of the scale of this, because the numbers genuinely surprise me. We start losing muscle slowly from around our 30s, just a little each year, so little you'd never notice. But after 60, the rate picks up. By the time people are in their 70s and 80s, studies suggest that something like a third to half of them have measurable sarcopenia, half, and it accelerates the less active you are. Here's the cruel feedback loop that traps so many people. You lose a little strength, so things get a little harder, so you do a little less, so you lose a little more strength, so things get harder still. Round and round it goes, each turn of the wheel a little tighter, until one day someone can't get out of a chair without help, and everyone says, well, that's just what happens when you get old. But it isn't just what happens. A huge part of it is the wheel, spinning quietly for years, and almost nobody ever told them they could put the brakes on. So, let me explain why this happens, because once you understand the mechanism, the solution starts to make sense. As we age, a few things shift inside us. Our bodies become a little less efficient at building new muscle from the food we eat. The signals that tell our muscles to grow get a little weaker. Our hormone levels change. And on top of all that, most of us simply move less and eat less than we used to. Now, here's the thing that most people get completely backwards, and I want you to really hear this because it might be the single most important sentence in this whole video. The answer to losing muscle is not to rest and take it easy. The answer is the exact opposite. Your muscles are built to respond to demand. When you challenge them, they grow, or at the very least they hold their ground. When you stop challenging them, they shrink. Use it or lose it isn't just a saying. For your muscles after 60, it is the literal, biological truth of how they work. And this is where I have to gently push back against some advice that, while well-meaning, I think does older people real harm. So many of us, when we think about staying healthy as we age, think about walking. And walking is wonderful. Please don't stop walking. It's good for your heart, your mood, your joints, your blood sugar, your everything. But here's what walking does not do. Walking does not, on its own, stop you from losing muscle. It's cardio. It's fantastic for your cardiovascular system. But it doesn't provide the kind of resistance, the kind of challenge that tells your muscles they need to stay strong. You can be a dedicated daily walker and still be losing muscle mass year after year, because you're never actually asking your muscles to do anything hard. That's not a knock on walking. It's just that walking alone is half the picture, and almost everybody is only doing that half. So, what's the other half? It's resistance training. Now I know, the moment I say that, half of you picture a sweaty gym full of grunting young people lifting enormous weights, and you think, that's not for me. I'm past that. So, let me clear this up right now, because the misunderstanding here keeps people from the very thing that would help them most. Resistance training does not mean heavy weights. It does not mean a gym. It does not mean anything that's going to hurt you or embarrass you. Resistance training simply means making your muscles work against something. And the research on this is genuinely encouraging, especially for older adults. Studies have found that for seniors, lifting lighter weights with more repetitions is actually highly effective, often more practical and safer than going heavy. You do not need to lift anything dangerous. You need to challenge your muscles in a controlled, repeated way, and that's it. Let me make this concrete, because I don't want to leave you with a vague instruction to go exercise. Here's what this can actually look like in your own home, with no equipment or almost none. The single best exercise for most older adults is standing up from a chair and sitting back down, slowly, under control, without using your hands if you can manage it. That's it. That's a squat. And it's training the exact muscles you use to get off the toilet, out of the car, and up from the couch for the rest of your life. Do a few of those. Rest. Do a few more. Another one. Stand behind a sturdy chair, hold the back of it for balance, and rise up onto your toes and lower back down. That's your calves and your balance, both at once. Push-ups done standing against a wall, leaning in and pushing back. That's your chest, shoulders, and arms, with zero strain on your joints. And then there are resistance bands, which I think are one of the best inventions ever for older adults. They're those stretchy rubber bands. They cost almost nothing. They weigh nothing. They're gentle on arthritic hands that struggle to grip a dumbbell, and they let you work every major muscle in your body safely. You can use them sitting down if standing is hard. There is a version of this that works for nearly everybody, no matter where you're starting from, and the dose required is so much smaller than people fear. The research keeps landing on roughly the same place. 2, maybe 3 sessions a week, around 30 minutes each. That's it. That's a couple of half-hour sessions, sandwiched around the rest of your week. We're not talking about becoming an athlete. We're talking about a small, consistent, deliberate habit that, over months, can rebuild strength people assumed was gone forever. And I want to say something hopeful here that's backed up by the studies, because I think too many people believe it's too late for them. It is almost never too late. Research has shown that even people in their 80s and 90s, even people in nursing homes, can build measurable muscle and strength with resistance training. Your body keeps the ability to respond to this kind of challenge right to the very end of life. The machinery never fully shuts off. So, if a voice in your head is saying you're too old to start, I need you to know that the science flatly disagrees with that voice. You are not too old. You're just untrained, and untrained is fixable at any age. But exercise is only one leg of this. There's a second leg, and it's just as important, and it's the one people neglect even more. It's protein. Here's something that almost nobody over 60 knows. Your protein needs actually go up as you get older, not down. The standard guidelines that get thrown around were largely built around younger adults, and for an older body, they're often simply not enough. As we age, our bodies become more resistant to the muscle-building signal that protein sends, which means we need more of it to get the same effect. Researchers who study this in older adults generally recommend significantly more protein than the old baseline, somewhere in the range of 1 to 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight per day for healthy older people, and toward the higher end if you're dealing with illness or recovery. You don't need to do the math perfectly. The point is just this. Most older adults are eating too little protein at exactly the stage of life when they need the most. And it's not only how much, it's how you spread it out. This is a detail that makes a real difference and that hardly anyone gets told. Your body can only use so much protein for muscle building at one time. So if you eat a tiny breakfast, a light lunch, and then load all your protein into one big dinner, a lot of that protein effectively goes to waste as far as your muscles are concerned. The better approach is to spread your protein across all 3 meals, aiming for a solid serving at each one, roughly 25 to 35 grams per meal for most people. So that's eggs or Greek yogurt at breakfast instead of just toast, some real protein at lunch instead of just soup and crackers, and then your dinner. When you spread it out like that, you're sending the muscle-building signal 3 times a day instead of once, and that steady, repeated signal is exactly what aging muscles need. Let me give you a practical list of what counts, because I don't want this to be abstract. Eggs are wonderful, cheap, easy to chew, and packed with high-quality protein. Greek yogurt and cottage cheese are fantastic, especially if your appetite is small, because they pack a lot of protein into a little. Fish, chicken, turkey, and lean meats are all excellent. If chewing meat is getting harder, and it does for many of us, then softer options matter. Things like fish, eggs, yogurt, cottage cheese, beans, lentils, and protein you can drink. Milk is a quietly excellent source. And speaking of drinking your protein, this is one situation where I do think the powders and ready-made protein shakes earn their place. If you struggle to eat enough at meals, a protein shake can be one of the simplest ways to close the gap. And there's real research showing that combining extra protein with resistance training works better than either one alone. The two legs hold up the table together. Exercise without enough protein, and you don't have the building blocks. Protein without exercise, and you don't have the signal to use them. You need both. I also want to mention a couple of other things that the research suggests can help so you have the full picture. Vitamin D plays a role in muscle function, and a lot of older adults are low in it, so it's worth having your level checked and supplementing if your doctor agrees. Creatine, which most people only associate with young bodybuilders, has actually been studied quite a bit in older adults and shows promise for supporting strength when combined with resistance training, and it has a long track record of safety. Omega-3 fats, the kind in oily fish or fish oil, may also lend a hand to muscle. None of these are magic, and none of them replace the two main pillars of lifting and protein, but they're reasonable supporting players, and they're worth a conversation with your doctor. Now, let me come back to why all of this matters so much, because I don't want you to think of muscle as a vanity thing. This isn't about looking a certain way. The muscle you carry into your 70s and 80s and beyond is, quite literally, your insurance policy for staying independent and staying alive. Here's why. Strong muscles mean you're far less likely to fall, because you can catch yourself, steady yourself, and react. And falls, as you may know, are one of the single biggest threats to an older person's life and freedom. A serious fall can be the event that ends independence entirely. So everything you do to keep your legs and your core strong is, in a very real sense, fall protection. Beyond that, muscle is metabolically active tissue that helps regulate your blood sugar, supports your bones, and gives your body a reserve to draw on when you get sick. People with more muscle weather illnesses and surgeries better and recover faster. Muscle is not optional padding. It is one of the most protective things you own. And the wonderful part is that it's something you can actively build at almost any age, starting from wherever you are today. Before I give you a place to start, let me clear away the fears and the mistakes that stop people, because I've found that knowing what not to worry about is just as freeing as knowing what to do. The biggest fear I hear is, what if I hurt myself? And it's a fair fear. But here's the reality. The risk of doing gentle, controlled resistance work in your own living room is tiny compared to the risk of doing nothing and slowly losing the strength that keeps you on your feet. The way you stay safe is simple. You start lighter and easier than you think you need to. You move slowly and under control, never jerking or straining. You breathe out on the effort and never hold your breath. You keep a sturdy chair or a countertop nearby for balance. And you stop if something sharp hurts while accepting that a little muscle fatigue, that pleasant tiredness in the muscle, is exactly the point. If you have heart trouble, joint replacements, or any serious condition, have a quick word with your doctor first. And honestly, most of them will be thrilled you're asking because they know how much this helps. The second mistake people make is doing the same thing forever and wondering why they stop improving. Your muscles adapt to whatever you ask of them, which is the whole point. But it also means that once 10-chair stands feel easy, 10-chair stands are no longer challenging your muscles enough to keep building them. So the trick, and it's a gentle one, is to nudge the difficulty up over time. A few more repetitions, a slightly heavier band, holding a couple of soup cans while you do your chair stands. This is what the experts call progressive overload. And it sounds technical, but it just means slowly asking for a little more as you get stronger. You don't leap, you inch. But you keep inching. And over a year, that inching adds up to a transformation. The third mistake, and maybe the most common of all, is the all-or-nothing trap. People decide they're going to do an hour a day, 6 days a week. They go hard for 1 week. They get sore and discouraged, and they quit. Please don't do that. The people who win at this are not the ones who go hardest. They're the ones who keep showing up, week after week, with something modest and sustainable. 2 short sessions you actually do every week for a year will leave you stronger than a punishing routine you abandon in February. Consistency beats intensity every single time in this game. So aim low enough that you can't fail, and let the habit, not the heroics, do the work. And one more thing I want to gently put to rest. Some people, especially women, Worry that lifting anything will make them bulky or muscular in a way they don't want. Let me reassure you completely, that is not going to happen, and certainly not from gentle resistance work in your 60s, 70s, or beyond. The hormonal and physiological reality of an aging body means that what you'll actually get from this is not bulk. It's tone, function, steadiness, and the ability to do your daily life with ease. You'll get stronger in the ways that matter, and you will not turn into a bodybuilder. So, let that worry go entirely. So, let me leave you with something practical you can actually begin this week, because I'm a believer that the best plan is the one you'll really do. You don't need to overhaul your life. Start with 2 things. First, pick 2 days this week, just 2, and on each of those days do a short set of chair stands, getting up and down from a sturdy chair under control, as many as you comfortably can, rest, and repeat that 2 or 3 times. That alone, twice a week, is a real beginning, and you can add more movements as you get comfortable. Second, look hard at your breakfast. If your breakfast right now is mostly toast, or cereal, or just coffee, add a real source of protein to it. 2 eggs, a bowl of Greek yogurt, something that gives your muscles a reason to wake up in the morning. Those 2 changes are small enough that you can't really talk yourself out of them, and they're the first turn of the wheel in the right direction. Because here's the truth I most want you to walk away with. So much of what we've been taught to expect from aging, the weakness, the unsteadiness, the slow surrender of the things we used to do without thinking, is not as inevitable as we've been led to believe. A meaningful share of it is sarcopenia, quietly progressing, and sarcopenia responds. It genuinely responds to challenging your muscles and feeding them well. You are not powerless in this. You are not just along for the ride, watching your strength drain away with the calendar. You have far more say in how strong you are at 80 than almost anyone ever told you. The wheel that's been spinning quietly against you, taking a little each year, can be made to spin the other way. It takes effort, I won't pretend otherwise, and it takes consistency. But the payoff is the ability to live in your own home, get up out of your own chair, walk into your own kitchen, and stay the captain of your own life for as long as possible. That, to me, is worth 2 30-minute sessions a week and a few more eggs at breakfast. I think when you weigh it out, you'll feel the same. So, start small, start this week, and don't let anyone, including that doubting voice in your own head, convince you that the strength you want is already behind you. It isn't. It's waiting for you to come and build it.